Chapter 1118 is amongst the many chapters that has caused an instant civil war within the One Piece fandom. There's the broadcast, which is still going on, and of course the Iron Giant slander has gotten even worse within this chapter. But more importantly, we have Luffy showing Bonney how to use Gear 5, and she's actually using it.
What?
For many centuries, nobody was able to awaken the fruit, but now we have two Nikas having fun within COVID distance. Well, that's something, alright. And obviously this opens up a whole can of worms. Like, what if Bonnie's potential awakening would allow her to turn others into Nika, just like how Naruto shared his Nine Tails chakra with the father during the 4th Great Ninja War? Now personally, I wouldn't completely rule out that possibility, but first let's take a look at the development and see if any of it even makes sense. First, we need to understand Bonnie's devil fruit. It's the Toshi Toshi no Mi, the age manipulation fruit, and she has had it since she was just an infant. Now, an infant having a devil fruit's powers is already an interesting situation by itself, but what makes it even more interesting is the extraordinary gap between when she was fed the devil fruit's extract and when she actually used its powers for the first time. As we saw in chapter 1099, it wasn't until Bonney was 6 years old that she used the fruit's powers for the very first time. The only other notable scenario where there was such a gap between consuming a fruit and using its powers is Brook's Yomi Yomi no Mi. But why at age 6? Even if it was subconscious, why did it take her that long to use its powers? After all, children are naturally curious and dumb. It would have made total sense even if she subconsciously used it sooner, right? But let me point out the reason why it actually took so long. In chapter 1098, Bonney heard the conversation between Kuma and the doctor and then asked Kuma about what's up with age 10. Of course, Kuma lied to her and told her that her diseases would be cured by the time she turns 10 years old. A cheerful smile took over Bonnie's face and she started looking forward to when she turned 10 years old. Yes, she started envisioning herself growing older and maturing into an adult, but you guys see where I'm going with this, right? It was after she learned that she'll be cured by age 10 that she subconsciously used her fruit. If it wasn't for Kuma's lie, she wouldn't have used her fruit when she did, and that is everything. When she learned about Nika from Kuma, she believed he was real because why would a child like her not believe her kind and gentle father? She couldn't imagine what Nika would look like, and Kuma didn't have an answer either, but she knew that Nika could stretch and enlarge his body however he wanted. This leads to the distorted future rabbit hole where she can only be what she believes she can be in the future. This whole thing also plays into Vegapunk's theory about how devil fruits are actually manifestations of the possibility for human evolution. All these different fruits represent branches of humanity's fruits that are brought into existence purely by hope and desire. And when you think about it, Bonnie's fruit is basically a one-on-one practical application of Vegapunk's theory. It's all about tapping into different branches of humanity's possible future. In simpler words, it's like a copy devil fruit but with extra steps. Bonney knows that Nika is the embodiment of freedom in the context of One Piece, and therefore her intrinsic desire to become free is expressed by transforming into something akin to Nika. Naturally, she didn't know what Nika actually looked like, so it took until chapter 1118 and a pep talk from Luffy himself before she could transform into Nika's actual appearance. That's why when you take a look at her character arc as a whole, it actually makes sense for her to respond to Luffy's pep talk and become Nika. And by the way, fun fact, Nika was first mentioned in chapter 1018. It has been exactly 100 chapters since then. There's no reason to believe that she's as strong as Luffy though, but for all we know, it's just all aesthetics and she is just like how Katakuri was, copying Luffy in Whole Cake Island. For example, when Bonney stretched her arm and used Gear 3 on the Cypher Pole agent, was she really using a gigantic rubber punch? Or did she simply conjure up the arm of a giant? Which makes you seriously wonder about the whole thing. Is it rubber hacks that makes Gear 5 so special, or is it the lore attached to all of it? The question is similar to what my boy Ghetto asked Gojo in front of KFC. Is Luffy free because he has Gear 5, or does Luffy have Gear 5 because he is free? Why wasn't anyone other than Luffy or Joy Boy able to awaken the fruit? Why did the Iron Giant pull up to marry Joe after 200 years only to do nothing? So many questions and just as many headcanon. Personally, it goes without saying that it's not Bonney's distorted future that people have a problem with. There are many broken devil fruits in the story, but what's wrong with another one? If Bonney had just used Kuma's pawpaw fruit, we wouldn't be as heated as we are now, but it's still Kino, right? If she used Kuma's fruit, it'd be as though she inherited his will. Peak fiction, and I do hope that we get to see her use the pawpaw fruit. But going back to the main problem. The problem is that Bonney has become Nika, and now we don't know how special Nika is supposed to be. What if Bonney's awakening is her being able to share distorted future with other characters? What if she pulls up to the final war and gives Nika to all the good guys like what Naruto did with Kurama's chakra in the Shinobi War? And guys, I want to assure you that the chances of that happening may not be zero, but it's definitely less likely than Zoro betraying Luffy. You can quote me on this in the future if it turns out to be wrong, but what I'm about to tell you is the truth about Luffy's Gear 5 and how Oda has already given us his answer. Hear me out real quick. What if Usopp ate the Toshi no Mi and Luffy then asked him to use Gear 5? That wouldn't work, right? Well, if that wouldn't work, how can Bonney turn Usopp into Nika? This is more than just a desire to be free. If you go by the logic of Bonney's powers, one has to believe that Looney Tunes' rubbery powers of Nika are actually the literal pinnacle of freedom. Sure, Bonney can reverse or escalate the aging of any person she comes into contact with, but that has nothing to do with the distorted future effect because it's totally normal. She can turn you into a child because you were once a child. She can turn you into an old fart because you'll eventually age and grow old. It's simple and straightforward because Bonney doesn't have to make them believe anything. She just ages or reverses their age, and it's also just temporary. But moving on to the second point I'm going to make regarding this, it's the same as the first one. This is indeed more than just a desire to be free. If you take more than one person and put them in a room, their definitions of absolute freedom would be totally different. Eren and Luffy would have different definitions of freedom. I remember chapter 1060 where we got to see the Straw Hat Pirates' reactions to Luffy's true dream. We don't even know his true dream, but what we do know is all the Straw Hats reacted differently to hearing Luffy's dream. It definitely has something to do with being free because that's what Luffy's all about, but the fact that it got such polarizing and comical reactions implies that Luffy's ideas may not make sense even to some of the people closest to him. Zoro, Jinbei, and Nami acted like they had misheard Luffy. Brook laughed and called it hilarious. Usopp was genuinely shook and asked if Luffy's serious about this. Frankie loved it because Frankie's him. Sanji asked Chopper to check Luffy's brain. Robin had the classic reaction piece reaction, and Chopper was brimming out of pure excitement. Where am I going with this? You see, even in One Piece, the idea of freedom is different for different people. There are so many scenes throughout the story where Luffy tells you to believe whatever you want to believe. In Bonnie's case, it made sense for her to become Nika. She's more like Luffy than Dragon. But when it comes to random characters, it won't make sense for them to become Nika, and there won't be any need either because everyone has different strengths and weaknesses. Oda can go ahead and get carried away, but he knows the themes of the story he has been telling for the past 2.5 decades. We don't have the full context on Nika, so it's understandable to criticize if you don't like Luffy becoming some mythical sun god from ancient times, but what we do have is the knowledge of all the themes and the idea Oda has been communicating with us since chapter 1. One Piece is the type of manga where it's okay to be a pirate and it's also okay to be a marine. Luffy has the same dream as Roger, and it's all but confirmed that it's the same as Joy Boy's dream, but considering the polarizing reactions we have seen from the Straw Hats regarding this dream, it's safe to say that it's something simple and definitely not as grand or noble that one would expect it to be. Luffy isn't a hero after all, so it'll probably be much sillier and dumber than we expect, but going back to Bonney, the same logic applies here. She can't force a person into something that doesn't align with their identities, but what if people want her to turn them into Nika? She can't, and at best her awakening may turn people into the ideal image of their free selves. That would be the absolute limit of what her devil fruit hacks can do. So with that being said, what do you guys think? Do you agree with this take, or do you still think our Joy Girl is going to pull a Naruto in the Great Pirate War? Let me know down in the comments below your thoughts. I'm curious to hear what everyone has to say. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and also do let me me know what other ideas you guys want me to make videos about. At the end of the day, we all love One Piece here, so there's just plenty of things to talk about. But enough of the yapping from me. Hit that subscribe button if you guys want to see some more videos in the future. Take it easy, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.